bill, $350. Good morning. Hi, this is Frank Messina. I'm chairman of the Chatham Historical Commission. I'd like to welcome you to our September 6th, 2022 meeting. We have some announcements to make before we start. This meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone.
Frank, I can't hear you.
Any smartphone or tablet device. Was that Ben? Was that Steve?
I think it might have Steve.
Okay. Threw me a curve. So if anyone else is recording this meeting, please notify the chairman. Seeing none, we'll proceed. Pursuant to Governor Baker's July 16, 2022 signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, including the extension of his March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, subsection 20, until March 31st, 2023, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted both in person and via remote participation, and shall afford adequate alternate means of public access by Microsoft Teams by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 543-806-603, hashtag, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Despite our best efforts, we will not be able to provide real-time access and will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. Okay, first order of business is a roll call to see who's here. Bob Lear.
Present.
Steve Burlingame. Steve, are you connected? Christina, can you tell if he's connected?
He is in the meeting.
Steve Burlingame? We need a sign of life, a proof of life.
He's like me, he doesn't have it on.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. Ben Zolominski is absent. Stephanie Hamilton?
Here.
Jane Moffett is absent. Don Aikman?
Here.
Sandy Porter?
Present.
And Janet Tennyson?
Here.
And the chair is here. So the two alternates, Sandy Porter and Janet Tennyson, will act as voting members for Ben and Jane. We haven't heard from Steve.
I heard.
Hello?
All right, Steve.
Hey.
Thank you. We have a
Hello?
connection. Can you hear us, Steve?
Hello?
All
Hello,
right.
Steve.
Can you hear us, Steve?
He's talking to us, Michelle.
No, he was talking to me. I tried to call him to see if he was on, but he's answering the phone and I can hear him, but I don't think he can hear me.
All right. We're going to assume, Steve, until we correct the situation, that you're not here. Okay, Steve? Can we try and correct the situation there? I love it. Okay. Before we proceed with the minutes, well, let's do the minutes and have some announcements to make. Okay, we have minutes from August 16, 2022. Everybody's got a copy, and I'm sure you've read them.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from August 16th, 2022.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second by Don. All those, roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Steve Burlingame? No answer yet. Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Again, we'll continue to assume that Steve is absent from the meeting until we get some further clarification. Okay, we have a number of hearings today, and we have some announcements, but I'm going to start off with some positive announcements. First of all, I'd like to introduce Jeff Theodore. Close.
Thibodeau.
Why don't you tell us how to mispronounce it? Just
Yeah, it's
French Canadian. Thibodeau to the Francais among us, yes.
French.
I'm Jeff Thibodeau. and
All
I'm-
right.
I'm Chatham's new principal planner. Happy to be here. I started last
I wanna
week.
work with-
Yes, I'm looking forward to working with all of you and with the public, and looking forward to sitting in on the meeting today and learning a lot.
Very good. Well, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
He's the one I'm supposed to work with, right?
Say again?
He's the one that I'm supposed to work with?
We got a long list of things.
All of you.
First,
I'll
he
be
has to
wor- I'll be
find
working
out,
with all of
he
you.
needs to find out where the men's room is and get everything straight. So he's just getting, I had a meeting with Katie Donovan and Michelle and Christina just to go over some things we're doing. And so we'll talk more about that in terms of assignment and how he's going to work. Of course, we all know we're in transition, that Michelle is going to be moving on to another position within the town of Chatham. Boo-hoo.
Yes.
And Christina will step up and take over most of those responsibility in the next few months. Okay. The other announcement before we get into the hearings is just I'm so happy and proud to announce to all of us, which we already know, that the South Chatham Village National Historic South Chatham Village Historic National Register District has been approved by the National Park Service, is now officially listed as our third National Register District in the town of Chatham, joining the Old Village and the Marconi RCA. So it's quite a large district, including everything from Cockle Cove all the way to the end of the town, to Bethany Cemetery, down Pleasant Street and Forest Beach Road, which was the historic South Chatham Village in the early 1800s. So we're very pleased about that, and we look forward to working with them. And I want to thank a lot of people who helped, including the commission members, and most importantly, the South Chatham Village Association, who were very helpful in getting us over the line, unlike some experiences we've had with other parts of the community. But I won't mention that to him. Okay. So having said that, again, we have three addresses and multiple public hearings related to two properties in the Old Village and one in, not in the Old Village, just under Chapter 158. So we'll get started. The first property or the first application is 22000, will be heard in accordance with Chapter 158 and heard in accordance with Section 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Regional Policy Plan. The application is Emerson and Timothy Emerson Revocable Trust. They're the current owners, and Mr. Riley?
Frank, before you get started, I just want to announce that I'm recusing myself from these two hearings.
Okay. Couple of comments before we proceed. Mr. Riley, I just want to note that, as I said, we heard this application 2 years ago, and now the applicant is back with some new changes or significant changes, which we're going to review.
I don't think so.
As a result of the importance of this property and its location,
I don't think so.
in accordance with our previous process, I requested Sarah Corgia of the Cape Cod Commission to provide some comments.
Please select from the following three options. For community development, including building, planning,
What was that? Is that Ben?
I think it's Steve.
Steve.
Steve? Steve, can you hear us? Not yet, so he's still absent. I want to note that again, I asked Sarah Korjeff to take a look at it. Sarah does not work full-time, just part-time employee of the Cape Cod Commission, and she provided us with some initial comments relative to the application, which I provided to the commission members, which everybody has, I hope, and also to the applicant, and hopefully you also, Karen. Did you receive it? All right. So I would hope that we can reach some kind of consensus that we need to proceed in this in some way or continue it with your choice. Mr. Riley?
Good morning, Bill Riley, on behalf of Chris and Deb Houghton, who are...
Excuse me?
Can't hear.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. On behalf of Chris and Deb Houghton, who are the agreed vendees of the property, and they're present here in the audience this morning.
Aren't you providing the application for the owner?
No,
So then why are we here?
Well, yeah.
Let me finish. Please don't interrupt.
no.
The
application- the application- well, so let me finish.
Our current bylaw requires that the owner submit the application.
And so, on behalf of the owners, I did submit the application.
Okay.
But I represent the agreed vendees who have devised the new plans that you're going to consider.
Okay, as long as we understand, we're providing the comments to the owner.
I understand.
And the determination, if in fact we make a determination or refer it to the Cape Cod Commission, whatever action we take, is the owner's decision on how they proceed. And if in fact this does commensurate with a sale, we expect to see the current vendee, as you call them, back here to review it. We know you and I have had this conversation. I just want to make sure we all understand how we're proceeding here, Bill, so there's no misunderstanding, all right?
Yeah, I understand. I've already explained it to the Houghtons.
Okay.
So the proposal here, we have, a contributing structure in the National Register District. And the Houghtons, who have rented down in the Old Village area for about 20 years, have looked at the building and come up with a plan which they believe will preserve the building, for the next 100 years. That involves putting a new foundation. There's really essentially no foundation under the building now, primarily as a result of the fact that the building's about 4 feet lower than Main Street, and so stormwater drains off against the foundation. And the owners, the Emersons, had a survey done that said that the existing foundation, such as it is not suitable and has to be replaced. So the Houghtons engaged the services of Karen Kempton to help them with a design that will, as we say, preserve the building and still be in keeping with the historical district, because they're relying on the fact that, Karen's done a lot of work in the Old Village, and they believe that her designs are sympathetic to the concerns of the Old Village. So I'd ask Karen to come up and explain her proposed design changes to the existing structure, and we'll get comments from the board members.
Karen, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, were you going to stand there and talk, or going to go there? Okay, fine, thank you. You know the drill better than any of us.
We're doing it old school this morning. I'm Karen Kempton, architect for Deb and Chris Houghton. So you have the packet that included the percentage of demolition of the existing structure, and we discussed it at the site meeting on Friday. So just to review, on the front elevation, we are removing a portion of the roof to add 2 doghouse dormers. When this was before you, 2020, I think.
2020.
Yeah, it was approved, so some of these changes have already been approved by the board, so I went through those guidelines for what we were proposing. On the front elevation, the main part of the house will remain, as will the L to the left. The rear L will be removed, and I'll get into that further on. On the right side of the elevation, we're adding a shed dormer. Again, that was previously approved. On the rear elevation, we're keeping most of the windows and adding a few more. And we are also extending the shed dormer, the existing shed dormer that is there on the back side of the L, over to the main gable. As I said, we are removing the rear L here and the rear L there. In the application form, I did give you the square footage, linear square footage of the elevations. In addition to the floor plan, this is the rear L that we are removing. So the rear L was not even mentioned in the older Form B application. And I also went by Sarah Korjeff's letter to the CHC dated June 4th, 2020, regarding the previous proposal as a guide to what would be acceptable. And as I respect her, and I'm sure the board does too, as her as a preservation specialist. So I have the letter, and again, I wanted to go through the comments on that letter that I followed for this proposal. And we talked about the rear L being demolished, and she says in this letter, a lower rear L was added sometime later and has been modified and expanded numerous times. The proposed work would retain the form and structure framing of the original gable front mass and side L, adding dormers to the west and the main mass, and adding a front porch to the side L. Both of these proposed alterations are traditional ways of expanding historic structures in the region and can be made without moving much of the original building material. So the most significant, she goes on to say, the most significant element of the proposed work is to demolish the existing rear additions and construct a new addition that matches the height of the historic gable front mass. Again, this was the previous proposal, and I went by these guidelines for this proposal. The date of the existing rear L is not clear, but appears to have been altered numerous times and would not be considered a key character-defining feature of this historic structure. The proposed addition is appropriate because it would limit impact on key historic features. Again, what was proposed before was a two-story L in the rear. To maintain the prominence of the original historic structure and to preserve a distinction between the old and new parts of the building, the rear addition should be kept at or below the height of the side L. It may be possible to increase the height of the addition to match the gable front mass further back on the lot, where it would have less impact on the historic structure. So I think back then, one of her concerns was the connection between the front L and this new addition at the rear.
What sheet is that to go into?
What I'm showing now,
Yeah,
the proposed elevations.
okay.
So what we have done differently this time is if you look at the right elevation.
Christina, can you get them up? Okay, thank you.
So if you look at the right elevation and the left elevation, you see we've dropped the roof line down at the connector to the new rear addition. And basically that connector is the new porch roof wrapping around. So it's a one-story height separating the new and the old, which in the past we've liked to see on antique homes, so that the new addition just doesn't overcompensate for the existing, that there's a certain definition between new and old. As Sarah mentions, the ridge height of the new rear L can be increased to match the main L as it is further back on the lot. So this would seem to indicate that adding a second floor to the rear L would have been acceptable. Recently, as you may be aware, and you've already discussed this morning, Sarah did a quick review of our proposal and was concerned with the request to lift the structure 4 feet to match the street grade. Sarah was concerned about the west and rear sides of adding a fully exposed lower level. What I don't believe Sarah had as
I'm
the
sorry,
benefit.
could you say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Sarah was concerned about the west and rear sides of adding a fully exposed lower level. As this was a quick review, I'm not sure Sarah had the time to really look at the landscape plan and the site plan, and we are showing retaining walls between the driveway and the lower level, which hides the full walkout level on the west side. So if you're looking at the elevations, this is slightly different from what you were given, because now I'm showing the driveway coming down, and there'll be a retaining wall at the front lawn holding up the side of the lawn 4 feet to the sidewalk.
Is this a new drawing you're giving us?
This is revised, this lower level, because I
Right,
didn't
do
have
we
the
have that?
driveway in it.
Do we have that, Christina, Michelle?
I can forward it to you.
Well, it's
So-
just on the screen, so
Yeah, I
clearly
understand.
Christina has it.
That's nice. I'd like to see the drawing. We don't have it yet. Okay. You're going to get it to us today? so
Yeah,
we
I can.
Okay.
The other drawing that you don't have, but I wanted to show you a profile. If you were standing at the sidewalk, which is
Good.
basically what this man is doing right here, and you can see that the lawn is sloping down to the front of the house 4 feet, and it continues sloping down. This is this existing tree that really minimizes the height of the existing house, and of course, that's staying. So what you see here is the dashed line of the house being elevated 4 feet. And this dashed line here is the lawn now that will come out level or slightly below the sidewalk to alleviate drainage around the building. So what's happened over time, and we saw at the site meeting, this is the front corner board on the right-hand side of the house.
Right.
And the house is basically sitting right at grade here. So there's been a lot of rot. You can see this corner board has been repaired many times over the years.
Right.
But it continues to be a problem. So the house does need to be elevated out of this area. And as you can see, this is the house across the street, and really the front door is below grade, and the windows are below grade. But this is the house to the right or to the west. So as you continue down the sidewalk, you can see that all the other houses are at grade level, which we think is a streetscape that really should be implemented here. And this, looking at two screens here. Oops. So this going down the street is also all the other houses along that side that are all at street level. Ours is just in this hollow here, and we think it's beneficial to the town and to people walking down the street to really elevate it up. In addition, it's going to have the proposed front porch, which historically would be at grade level and not below grade level. The letter that Sarah wrote again,
Which one, the current one or
the
the
current
previous
one, in response to that, I have the following points. So a look at the front corner board shows damage and seems as though it has been repaired in past years. It would be assumed that there is rot behind the corner board and sill and possibly the floor beams as the house sits at grade. The proposal to elevate the house would preserve the structural integrity of the house against future water damage. Presently, there is no basement underneath, and it is assumed to be a dirt crawl space with no frost wall protection for the structure. We feel that adding a basement would help the floor structure, as we could examine the existing structure and reinforce where necessary.
Doesn't that paragraph continue?
This is what I wrote.
Okay.
These are my notes.
No, I'm sorry, I thought you were reading Sarah, that
No,
these
this
changes
is
would
in
alter the
response to
setting.
Sarah's letter that you received,
Relative to altering the setting?
relative to height,
Okay.
elevating the height.
Frank, this is an email that Karen sent to Sarah.
Oh, do we have that email?
No.
When did you send it?
Friday? Friday. It was a conversation between me and Sarah.
Yeah, well, we like to keep you informed, and I do. I spoke to you before, I was going to call Sarah, I was going
Yep.
to send it to Sarah, and I sent you Sarah's comments as soon as I got it. I would expect,
Yeah, I would be happy to forward this email
well,
to you.
It's Tuesday. Thank you.
So again, by elevating the house 4 feet, it allows us to regrade the front and allow for reducing the water runoff from the road and sidewalk and driveway to the structure. It will allow the house to sit level with the sidewalk and street and become a more visible historic presence for all to enjoy as they travel or walk down Main Street. So those were generally my notes, and I'm here for any questions.
As usual, Karen, an excellent presentation,
Thank you.
a nice application. You know, we have a situation here where, you know, because of the complexity of the application, and already, you know, we got like 8 or 9 letters from the people in the area, the Old Village, and nearby people concerned about the mass of the structure, the height, et cetera, et cetera. You know, why do we have to raise it 4 feet, et cetera, et cetera? And why do we have to, you know, why not 2 feet? You know, that kind of stuff. You've gotten the letters. I assume all the
Yeah, they
letters
were-
have been provided
yeah.
to Michelle, Kristen?
Yes, they were all forwarded.
Okay. And, you know, and we'd like to have a dialogue on it, and we would like to have a dialogue, so I'd like to see all that material, and we can then evaluate it. At this particular point, I guess what we can do, because you want to continue, I would suggest up front, we will continue this meeting. You have a problem with that?
Who, me, Frank? No, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you very much.
But I
And
want,
the reason we want to continue it is because we
No, but
want
I-
to get Sarah's, I'm
no,
sorry.
I would like to get preliminary comments
Yeah,
from
okay,
the
we'll do
commission
that,
members.
but I want the public to understand why we're doing it.
Okay.
I said something funny?
You know, I have so much fun when I come here. I can't help
Well,
it.
I don't
just-
have so much fun with your sarcasm, so just pipe it, okay? Thank you.
Okay, Frank.
Okay. The reason we're going to continue it is because the commission, our commission, likes to evaluate Sarah's comments and respond to all questions we may have, Sarah. And that's why we will continue. It's not that we're being punitive in continuing it. I just want to make that point clear.
Frank,
Thank you very much.
Frank, we anticipated you were going to continue it. I don't know where you get the
I understand.
sarcasm thing from, but you
Okay,
know, we
but
knew you were going to continue it, and we're happy that it's going to be continued.
And I just wanted to know officially at the meeting, notwithstanding our private conversations, that we are continuing it. Thank you.
Absolutely, we understand.
Appreciate it. Okay, at this particular point, any questions, comment? Go, Steph.
First of all, number 17, it says, applicant believes restoration of Greek Revival House and L will benefit its present location. Who's, the applicant believes?
I'm sorry, what?
This says applicant believes restoration of Greek Revival House and L will benefit the town. How is it going to benefit the town?
We believe that by elevating the building so that water intrusion, water standing against the foundation wall, which has been going on for a couple of centuries or so, is going to enable us to make sure the building is preserved. As Karen indicated in her presentation, by elevating the building, building a new foundation wall, will also give us an opportunity to evaluate the condition of the sills and the framing under the building and make sure that as the building is, before the building is placed down on the new foundation, that all the sills and framing are, if they're damaged or weakened in any way, that they'll all be replaced or sistered so that the frame will be as strong or stronger than it was when the building was built.
Thank you.
That's it, Steph? Don?
I believe this is a very substantial alteration, and I've been going by this house since 1939, and even before, when I was younger. And to change this so dramatically by bringing it up 4 feet, I believe is beyond belief. So I would definitely oppose this, and my thinking is that we're allowed to continue to place a demo delay on a building in the Old Village for 6 months before we refer to the Cape Cod Commission. And so my thinking is we put a demo delay on this for 5.5 months, and then if we haven't had satisfactory changes, that we then refer to the Cape Cod Commission. But that's where I stand.
All right, well, I do have some questions about that. You know, that 6-month thing, where did that come from? Sorry, Don.
That was in the rules that Bob
Oh,
Oliver
in our rules and
and
regs.
rules and regs
Thank you, Ray.
that
Remind me,
we
yeah.
created
Right. And that was to ensure we had time to work for the,
with the applicant before we referred it.
and if we referred it to the Cape Cod Commission, then what happens?
Then it's in their,
And it's in their bailiwick, and there's no demolition delay.
right. Well, there's a demo,
The demo delay is only 6 months.
right.
Okay. And that was the concept of not being punitive and putting an 18-month demolition delay.
And
at the
then-
end of 18 months, then refer it to the Cape Cod Commission.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess we would try to be nice, right? 6 months. All right, that's our rules and regs, Bill. And do I ask for clarification?
No,
And
I'm fine.
All right, good. Thank you. I'm glad we're making you happy this morning.
Well, you are making me
The
happy.
The other element of this now is that I had asked you to provide me, Karen, with a calculation of the gross floor area that's being demolished. I think it's greatly more than 25% of existing building.
This works? So it's 700 square feet of floor,
Say again?
700 square feet of floor area, which is the L, one-story L. Then on that form, I also had separately the square footage at each of the elevations. So taking the elevations and that floor plan, combining them, yes, you are correct.
It's what?
It's more
What
than
is it?
25%.
Do you know what the number is?
I don't have the application in front of me. Oh, here it is. It is 700 square feet of floor area and 1,900 square feet in elevation.
And the percentage of the building? The total building?
Well, see, here's a problem with that calculation, because you use the existing floor area of the building. You don't calculate the sidewall area of the building. But when you talk about demolition, we give you area from the sidewall, which you then compare to the floor area. But we do the calculation in accordance with your plans or your regulations. But I just want to point out that even though this number is more than 25% of the floor area, it's far less than 25% of the building itself.
Okay. We can.
That's an editorial comment.
Editorial comment, but it's
Okay.
more than 25%, which requires us technically to stop this discussion and refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. Now, Cape Cod Commission, is very clear on it. When something exceeds 25% of the gross floor area, the way they determine the calculation, we have technically, to some people would interpret as a mandatory referral to the Cape Cod Commission. By the same token, the Cape Cod Commission prefers us not to do that, to try to find some way to make it work, okay? And we've done it the last time with this application. They didn't demolish the L, they renovated it, okay? They didn't raise it, they didn't do all these things. So I guess what I'm hoping that we, as a commission, and you as the applicant, okay, can find a way to make this thing acceptable. Because it's not only the issue of the greater than 25%, is by making these changes, have we lost the historical significance of that National Register property? And has it changed so well that there's a loss in the National Register District? And currently thinking, someone like Don already, and I think, you were trying to get the temperature, that's what we feel, okay, just looking at the plans. And you've done a good job, Karen, presenting it, why, and all that kind of stuff. But I think generally, and we can go through it, there's a sense that it's just too much. I don't want to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. I don't necessarily want to do what Don wants to do, but I think we have to find a way to reduce the scale and mass of the property. Maybe not go up 4 feet, maybe something. Why are you going up 4 feet? You don't have to go up 4 feet. It doesn't have to be a street level. If for the last couple hundred years it was below street level, okay, but you can still keep it below street level and solve your drainage problem. Now, that would reduce that. I don't want to be design here, that's not my job.
Oh, I understand.
And then back, the side of the building, when you look at the building, you got 3 stories of a relatively massive structure there. Trees come, trees go. We're not involved in trees or hardscape.
Which side are you referring to, Frank?
Pardon?
When you say 3 stories, which side are you referring to? Can you put
I'm
this,
talking to the addition. Obviously, what you've done, in my opinion, what they've done at the original building is consistent with what we previously approved.
excuse
You
me,
agree with
Frank.
that?
Frank, could we have Christina put the proposed plans up on the screen again, because
The elevation.
the elevations?
I think we're talking about the L is the problem.
I do have a question about that, too.
By the way, those perspectives are very good because it allows us to
Yeah, so
understand what you're
Christina,
talking
can you put it up on the
about.
screen?
Frank, can I ask you a question about what you were
Absolutely.
just talking about as far as square footage and
Yes.
demolition? And I mentioned the 700 square feet was for the rear L. I think there has to be a understanding that usually in your meetings, you talk about architectural significance and is it a significant building? And I think we've talked about that the rear L, again, according to Sarah, is not architecturally significant. So therefore, the 700 square feet that we're demolishing isn't necessarily architectural significant to the main part of the house and the L that we are not demolishing. So therefore, I think the numbers are skewed a little bit.
And you left it out. Can I comment on that?
Sure.
The previous application took about 6 months, okay? We went back and forth, we went back and forth. We were trying very hard not to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. And the previous applicant was working with us. They were doing things. They weren't demolishers, they were making changes. And I'll be honest with you, you reach a point and you go, okay, we felt that there was a sufficient give and take there that we weren't going to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission, and we got Sarah's okay. That when I say Sarah's okay, she doesn't make it, it's up to us. It's up to us commission. We only are using Sarah's information as guidance for us. She's a professional, I'm an electrical engineer. You got a circuit, I'll help you, okay? But that's the point. So yes, Sarah did indicate, and maybe beyond me, but maybe she was trying to justify her own decision, that it's really not that historically significant, okay? But, and it doesn't, it's not architecturally the building, but it is an addition, and it's been there for, 50, 75 years? It's changed, there's no question about it. But
It's
is it
not in
going to
the Form
change the
B, though.
character of the old village? Is it going to change the character of the streetscape on both Water Street and Main Street?
On both Water Street and Main Street.
Steve, is that you?
It is.
Finally.
Congratulations, Steve.
We'll note that Steve Burlingame has joined the meeting. Steve, in order for you to be a voting member of this particular thing, I would require you to go back and listen to the meeting and watch it, okay? But please continue. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted myself. Go ahead.
I have participated in the meeting in the sense that I've been watching everything. I just was unable until just now to get the sound. So I've heard the conversation about the need to raise the house because of the drainage issues, et cetera. So I think I'm pretty well squared away with what's been going on.
Steve, can you talk closer to the microphone? I got a tin ear, I can't hear a word you're saying.
From one tin ear to another. Yeah, I'm getting the audio through my phone now. So I'm not so sure I'm getting that to you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
He heard the whole meeting, right.
Say again?
He's heard the whole meeting.
But
Okay.
I've been hearing.
You've been listening to the whole meeting. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I thought you had a question. No, okay.
No, not at this.
Bill, you had an issue or something you wanted to raise?
I've already forgotten what I was going to say.
That's good. We can move on then. Yes. Sandy, any comments?
It's a lot of house.
Turn your mic on.
Mike, turn your mic on.
It's a lot of house. I'd like to see and have some more correspondence.
Speak into the
and
mic a
whatnot.
little louder, please.
I'd like some more to see the correspondence and perhaps negotiate some changes. Just,
Can I ask you a question, Sandy?
Yes.
So there, I think there are two aspects that we're discussing, which are really quite separate. So one aspect is elevating the main section, the antique section, so it's level with Main Street, like all the other structures along that section of Main Street. And the other is the L, which is showing the full 3 stories here on this side, on the west side. So addressing just the main section and bringing it up to street level. Do you have any specific comments about that? I understand the concern with the 3 stories, so,
okay. My main concern is the L. The L is just, it feels big, it looks big. Bringing the house up to Main Street, not so much.
okay, thank you.
Janet?
Now, I think I understand what the owners are trying to do, but I don't see it working here. I mean, the elevation on the School Street side, it's massive, and the current structure is very low, and you just have the privet or you have the bushes or something now. But, and does it really need to be raised 4 feet? I mean, you can raise it up to get it off of the ground and avoid the mold and everything if you raise it up 2 feet and not have it tower. It's going to lose whatever historical significance it ever had, and it's in the register, it's in the historic, it's a corner signature piece of Chatham, and it'll be totally lost. I
Okay.
would not approve it.
All right. At this particular point, I'm in 2 minds here. I have one technical question to ask before we continue it. There's 3 properties, there's 3 houses on the property, Bill, just to clarify.
Right.
At the site visit, Karen, we talked about, there's a new 1-bedroom house going to be.
No, it's a 2-bedroom
added?
house. It's a
Now, is
2-bedroom
that?
It's a 2-bedroom cottage.
Yeah, okay.
It's going to be a hotel.
Is there something there now? Are you demolishing something there?
Yeah, if you think about the building, when you pull in on the driveway, there's a cottage that's very low. And you've got a cottage that's up on School Street.
Yes.
So the cottage is low, and behind the cottage on School Street, that would be demolished. And a new cottage constructed.
Okay, but let me just ask the question, good, clarify it. The one you're demolishing, that is 1953, Michelle?
Have to refer back to the.
Okay, we don't have to do it now. I just want to verify that the one you're demolishing is 1953, which we have no jurisdiction.
Yeah, so this is the cottage that would be demolished, and this is the replacement cottage.
And that one's staying.
That one's, no, that's a replacement cottage, it's new construction, and since the date of this plan, it's been changed to a 2-bedroom structure.
I'll be very honest with you, Bill. I looked at the property thing and I see two properties. One says 1933, the other one says 1953. So one of those properties is within our jurisdiction, okay? And I'm not sure, Michelle, can you help me there?
Well, I can show you the picture of the field card and see if you can tell us which.
I just want to make sure you're demolishing the 1953 house and we don't get wrapped around the axle with that.
This house.
Yep.
This is existing, the School Street, that's staying. This is the what we're talking about demolishing.
And it's 53.
That's a 1953 house?
According to the assessor's records. it's
Okay,
a
that's why, I just wanted to
1953.
clarify, because it was confusing when I looked at it and looked at the plan. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is, it's a busy project, but I just wondered if we could get comments from Steve Burlingame and his thoughts about it before we
Yeah.
finish.
Steve?
Well, I do have a couple. I'm very sensitive to the raising of the buildings. I'm very sensitive to the fact that these people have suffered from living in a hole for many, many, many years, and I don't see any reason to keep them living in a hole. If we look at some of the houses on Main Street, and we look at Ginny Nicholson's house and the one next door, talking about looming over Main Street. The former Turtle Restaurant or Turtle Inn that looms over, the Congregational Church looms over, the Lumberton Nicholson house is right on the street. So I'm sensitive to the need, and when you say 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, I would certainly ask the applicant to raise it the least amount necessary
Okay.
in order to accomplish what they are, without trying to say 2 feet's enough, 4 feet's too much. It is what it is, and I think that bringing it up to the Main Street level probably benefits the town. Now we see a house as opposed to a house hidden behind a tree down in a hole. And I would certainly look favorably upon that. The mass, or the appearance of the mass in the rear with the 3 stories, that's kind of a shocker. I know Karen's a very talented lady, and I suspect that she could find a way to give these people a lot of what they want without the appearance of being so massive.
All right. Ben, can I kind of cut you off? I think we got the sense of what you're saying. We need to move along, but I understand what you're saying. You're looking for potential changes relative to the height of the front structure and maybe some amelioration to the side of the house, the large shot. Is that it, Ben?
That's absolutely correct.
I mean, Steve, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
yes,
I just wanted to say that I agree with what Steve said.
okay. Do you want to continue the hearing to the
Yes.
20th? We'll
Yes,
get the
please.
revised drawings, we'll get Sarah's comments, hopefully, and we're all on a level playing field, and then I would then read the comments. I'm not going to do it now. We have numerous comments from the public, and I'll wait till we proceed
Okay,
into
great.
the application, all right?
Frank,
good.
can I make a request? That
Yes.
between now and then, if members of the committee could walk down School Street, there's a very high privet hedge there, and this L is way down, even lower than School Street, and it's really not visible from School Street, this 3-story.
We have been there many times, and so is Sarah. Sarah was there twice, which we, and if necessary, with some kind of, you have a choice between now and the next 2 weeks. If the choice is, we're going to just talk about the same thing, then we're talking about the same thing, unless you decide between now and 2 weeks from now that you want to make some changes. If you want to make some changes, fine. Please let Michelle and Christina know and let me know, and we can take it from there and continue it again. That's your decision, or else we'll just continue where we are. But I think you kind of read the tea leaves here, Cape Cod Commission or a demolition delay. That's the sense of what you wanted, and I think that's what you wanted, Bill.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Okay?
Yep.
So let us know.
Public comment?
Oh, crap. All right, we're going to take public comments, but please, because we're going to change, if we could keep it brief, please, thank you very much.
Will you hear me now?
Oh, I will hear you now, yes. That's the consensus of the commission, we'll hear you now. Normally, we hear public comments just before we take the vote. Norm, that's why I wanted to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
My name is Norm Pakin, 14 Sunset Lane, here in the Old Village. I have to give you some very brief comments beforehand as I speak, because my wife and I were the formers, the people who put together, with great help from everybody, the Old Village Association, and we also put together and helped the National Register District. And there are some very fundamental statements that have been made here today, which I believe are strongly incorrect. And I want to go over those because whatever happens with respect to the continued application, which I suspect the board will formally endorse, have to do with this. First of all, the entire structure at present that's there, including the main house and the L, are the contributing structure there. So the raising, R-A-Z-I-N-G, of the L is a demolition of a portion of the contributing structure. And the application seems to mask that. Ms. Kempton's statement seems to feel that Sarah Korjev has endorsed that. But if you look at Sarah's most recent email, which you received today, and I have a copy of it too, it makes it clear that what we're looking at here is a major, major change, including, but not only this, the 4-foot height increase. I think the idea that we can go back somehow to Sarah's comments almost 2 years ago and not really have them all in front of us is wrong. It's confusing. It's incorrect, and it's legally incorrect, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman. I don't think it should be endorsed here. There was a reference, for example, to the Emerson's commissioning an engineer's statement. I haven't seen that. That's not included in any of the application materials as of this application. And so I think it's very important to make sure that we are not altering the historic structure and not knowing it. I was one of those people who prepared the original Form B. And the Form B itself is cited in the National Register District materials as being the contributing structure, and that is the entire structure. At one time, it was raised that, was it possible for this board, or even anybody else, the Cape Cod Commission, to alter the contributing structure? And the answer I got from Massachusetts Historical Commission in writing is no. The only way you can change a contributing structure to a non-contributing structure or disregard that is to go back to the original process, MHC and the National Park Service. And so I could go on here, but I understand you want to
And I appreciate your comments, Norm.
And I have materials if anyone wishes to see them. But the main thing here is I think you need to start from scratch. If there are materials anywhere with Sarah or with previously with Ms. Kempton, they shouldn't be introduced here as if there was some private conversation. This is a formal public proceeding, and I think the public is entitled to have everything in front of it when one of the most historic structures in the old village is going to be radically changed. And I thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. And I think, as I noted, Mr. Paikin, we will get that information from Karen, and we will share it with with Michelle. And once that happens, and it's public information, and we'll be able to include it in our comment. And I agree with you. The difference between modifying an L and demolition is it's two different worlds. Okay, let's proceed. Thank you very much. We need a motion to continue the hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seth?
Second.
All right, we're going to, roll call to continue the hearing. Any member of the public wish to speak? Nope. Yes?
There is a hand raised here.
Yes.
Someone wanted to speak. There's a hand raised.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning. This is Fred Miller. I'm at 285 Main. I'm on the corner across the street from this property. I'm at school in Maine.
Are you want to speak to the continuation of the motion? The continuation of the application?
I'm sorry, Norm. I thought you were asking for comments from the public. I can wait till later.
All right, can you make it very brief?
Very brief.
Because we're going to be
Four
back here in 2 weeks.
One is, it's time for this house to be occupied. I'm glad somebody wants to live in it. It only deteriorates if it doesn't. The Howdens have been quite cooperative with me at least and with the Conservation Commission, so I'm encouraged. I do believe the scale is just too much in terms of the historic district, so I'm hoping the architect can find some way to deal with the scale and the mass, and you can solve this. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your brief comments. Okay, we need a roll call on the continuation of the hearing. Mr. Burlingame,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay. All right, let's proceed as quickly as we can. It's 11:30. Application 22011, 180 Old Harbor Road. This is be heard in accordance with Chapter 158 of the Demolition Delay Bylaw. Mr. Richard Avery, I think, is presenting for the owners, Darcy and David Burnell. A number of us made the site visit, and so why don't you give us a quick overview of what you're proposing?
Okay.
Note, welcome back, Mr. Lear. Thank you.
Okay, Richard Avery representing the Brownells. What we're proposing is at 180 Old Harbor Road to add a full dormer in the front and back on the second floor, raise the entry, which is the little shed that was attached to the house sometime in probably the 70s or 80s, we're thinking. And then to replace the siding, the insulation, and bring the house up to current standards for environmental requirements. There is a fireplace, if you look at document number 3 in the upper right-hand corner. It shows the existing picture of the structure with a fireplace that is not really a fireplace. It's actually for the mechanicals to exhaust for the mechanicals. And when we stripped back the vines from that structure, you can see that the mortar is probably not more than 30 or 40 years old, and the bricks are not historically significant. There's no Boston brick or anything like that in the chimney. So it's not used as a fireplace. We're wanting to demolish the chimney and put the 2 full dormers on the existing structure. We're not changing the footprint of the house at all. So I'd like to open for your questions and comments.
Okay, we have a process here.
Frank?
Thank you. Was that him banging on the window?
Yeah. Can he hear it? Can he hear it?
We need to get a bell or something.
Okay.
Banging on the window. I just told him that. Right? You did? Yeah, I need a bell or something. Well, anyway, having said that, the process here, Mr. Avery, is to first determine the historical significance of property.
Okay.
Okay, if we determine the property is historically significant, then we would proceed with the evaluation of the application. In this case, there's no Form B on the property by our preservation consultant or by the Historical Commission. And in addition, if I'm correct, the survey
You are correct. It's listed as no on the
is
survey.
listed as no on the survey, that we weren't going to, quotes, hate to use the term bother, to do a survey on the property, because he didn't feel, the preservation consultant, that the house was in fact historically significant. There's no question it's a cute little house. So I open it up, I guess, to the members of the commission on how they feel about it, because if in fact we don't feel the house is historically significant, then we can just let you proceed as you will. I'll just start. Janet?
No, I think it's like you said, it's really a cute Cape Cod, and I think that the changes will certainly, I mean, this family is here, living here, and wants to live here, so they need more space, and I think that there'll be improvements to, it's still going to look like a Cape Cod, it's just not going to look like it looks now, a one-story, yeah. So no, I have no problem, and I don't think it has historical significance.
Okay. Sandy?
I'm in agreement, no historical significance.
Bob?
I agree.
Steph?
I agree.
Don?
I'm torn, so I'm, it's a very cute cape, but I sympathize with the owners. I'm just surprised that they don't want to just tear it down and rebuild.
So I agree with you, and I'm pleased, very pleased, that the owners are, taking the initiative to restore it or improve it, but still
Yes.
keeping the general character of the community and the streetscape. It'll be different, but it's still there after you're done. So I think at this point, we'll need a motion relative to its historic significance.
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building/structure located at 190 Old Harbor Road is not historically significant because it does not meet any of the definitional criteria in section 158-2, subsections A, B, or C of the bylaw. Therefore, the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
180.
180.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I
Okay.
agree with your modification to my motion.
Thank you.
Boy, what we do with our checks and balances on this commission?
I'll second that.
Okay, second. So any other comments from the members of the commission or the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And Janet?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So as a result of that, thank you very much, and you can proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the owners at the site visit. They were very helpful, and I think, as
That's
we
great.
said, hope you can save something of a chimney, because an old house always have chimneys. I'm a
Always-
chimney guy.
No, that's a good point. Put a faux chimney on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll suggest that to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next application is 22012, 170 Main Street, to be heard in accordance with Chapter 158 of the Demolition Bylaw. Mr. Riley, and in addition, is presenting, in addition, to be heard in accordance with Provision 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Regional Policy Plan as a contributing structure in the Old Village. Mr. Riley's not here, so we'll move on. What was that?
Nice try.
Nice try, huh? A for effort.
So good morning.
Morning.
I represent Daniel and Catherine Ward, and Catherine's here in the back row. They purchased 170 Main Street, and they've owned it for 2 years, 1 year. too. So they, before proposing changes, they wanted to live in the neighborhood and get the feel for things. And they retained the services of Rick Roy to design changes to the building, which, they wanted to be in keeping with the old village district. So, but also allowed them to renovate the interior of the structure, for a modern family. So I'm going to ask Rick to explain the changes he's proposed, and we can talk about it.
Good afternoon, Rick Roy Construction. I think before I get into the actual building, I'd like to kind of explain the site a little bit. It's a very difficult site in the fact that it's on the side of a banking. The house is fairly close to the street, but also it's right up against the floodplain. So in talking with Frank, whenever I get into a historic project, I always try to get some kind of feedback. And one of the things that's always talked about is putting a, lateral addition on the building, maybe going out in a different direction or whatever the story is. But in this particular case, we can't do that because we can't get into the floodplain. So the house is about 20 feet front to back, and which is very narrow. And in order, like Bill Riley said, we tried to figure out a way to add some more floor space to it, even though we're not adding that much. It's a total of about 440 square feet, counting all 3 floors. It's less than 25% of the floor area. It's only 16%. But in the world of construction, adding that small amount on each one of the floors does give you the ability to make the house a little bit more comfortable to live in. But the other thing is that knowing that we were in the old village, what we tried to do is we tried not to change the streetscape of the house. So there's some window changes on the sides and on the gable ends, but the actual front of the buildings are staying exactly the same. And we felt that this way here, when you were driving down Main Street, no matter which angle you were coming at it from, the house was basically going to look the same. I think it's a win for the Historic Commission because it's a compromise between trying to get the house so that it would maintain modern living, so to speak. But the other thing is that it's also something that's right along the waterfront, and so obviously, based upon the proposed changes, the back of the building, even though it has a substantial amount of windows in the backside and a sun porch, which has a lot of windows in it, we are changing the backside of the house to take advantage of the view of looking out towards North Beach and the Atlantic Ocean. So what we've done here, and I've listened to a bunch of the meetings and so on and so forth, is, we tried, talking with Michelle many times, to figure out, exactly what we should be putting down for the material that is being removed. You'll notice that on the roof, all right, we put that any materials are being removed, and that's because there are no materials being removed. When we build the dormers, I don't know whether you want to go to the picture of the back of the house for the proposed. And the reason I'm just bringing this up is because we aren't removing any of the roof material. Basically, we're removing the back wall of the building and extending it out and doing 2 A-frame dormers, which basically lie over top of the existing roof structure. And we did it in this manner, okay, because we wanted to actually maintain the shape of the roof from the street. So in other words, you don't lose the gable end of the existing building. It's still there, the A-frame is still there, as opposed to putting a shed dormer all the way across the back or whatever, okay? The two sets of windows that are either side of the doors in the middle are basically the same as the windows that are there now. It's from there down that the windows change, because of course the first floor is the living space, and that's where the kitchen and the dining room and the living room would be, so the doors are there to capture the view of the ocean. But as you can see from the front of the building and the sides, it basically looks the same as far as the number of windows and so on and so forth. So we feel that, based upon the constraints placed upon us by conservation and the floodplain and so on and so forth, that this is a fairly modest addition to the backside of a historically contributing structure. And we feel it's a win for the town, because I think when the Wards bought this property, they were totally aware of the fact that they would have to come before historic, that they weren't going to be coming here to ask to tear the building down or do anything like that. But the fact that they are willing to work with this building and maintain it and bring it up to standard means that it will be here for a long time to come in great condition. So I'll entertain any questions that you might have, unless Bill wants to add something.
All right.
No, I think Rick's done a good job. I mean, in the wards, I think we're very concerned about maintaining the building, in its historic configuration. Obviously concerned more about the streetscape than the rear wall. But basically all they did was add window area. But they took the sun porch, which was not a particularly attractive addition to the building, and they removed that. So it seems to me, on balance, it's a very fair proposal. So I'd like to get comments from you folks and see what you think.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I've got some concerns about the side street, Rick, and I know you had talked to me and I had mentioned those, but let's see where the other members of the commission are coming. Yes, Don?
Rick, it appears from the drawings that, or from the pictures on the screen, that the two dormers in the back on the side view go right to the peak, but on the back view don't go to the peak. Can you explain that?
I think it's just slightly down. I think that when the draftsman drew it, he just made one line go to the top. It really looks like the picture of in the back. It's all geometry, so this is geometrically correct. The line going across the top is up too tall.
Okay, then how can you tie in those two dormers, or two, I guess they're dormers, into the roof without taking out part of the roof, so that you can open up the ceiling inside and have the height that you're looking for?
Okay, you're assuming that we're changing the ceiling height on the second floor, which we are not. So the walls that make up what looks where the corner boards are, all right, are the same size. They're at the same height as the existing walls on the second floor. So basically, all you're doing is you're coming in, and it's just overlays on top of the existing structure. The ceiling height doesn't change on the inside. The collar ties are at the same height all the way through.
But the 4-foot addition is coming out.
Going forward, yeah.
And you're going to have a connection to the existing roof?
So basically, what's going to happen, it's kind of a complicated project, okay, but what happens,
I would
all right,
think
is
so.
that by taking out the rear wall of the house is actually going to be steel that's going to have to go across at the roof line and at the second floor line, okay, and at the first floor line, because you've got to be able to hold up the old structure, all right? And so each one of those control points is being held up by a steel beam, and then that gets rid of the interior wall, but then you build an outside wall 4 feet away, and then you just bring the roof line back in and overlay it on top. So you're not getting rid of the existing roof.
Okay, well, my other comment is that although this isn't going to be visible from the street, but that lane that goes down next to it is traveled by many, many, many people every day, particularly during the warmer months. And this is going to be very visible, and I think that's an awful lot of window, but that's my opinion.
You're talking about the left side?
No, in the rear.
Yeah. Oh, the rear, okay. I thought you were talking about the side. Yes, yes, Steph, go ahead.
I just want to ask, are the first and the second floor, are they all windows or are some of them doors?
They're doors.
The door, where are the doors, in the middle?
Actually, everything that's on the first floor and the basement are doors.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The second floor, too.
And second floor in the middle are doors.
Yes, there's a balcony on the second floor, so they have doors out to that. It's a door salesman delight.
And to your point.
Bob?
Oh, go ahead.
I hope they're early risers, because the sun comes up at 4:30 on that side. Yeah, Don had answered my question about the roof, which I don't quite understand the answer, but that's fine. I guess a feature which you can't do much about is going to have a 10-foot retaining wall in back, right?
Right.
Right, though, that's a requirement of the Board of Health, because the cost of the work that's being done exceeds 50% of the appraised value of the existing structure. The property is required to come into compliance with the FEMA regulations. In addition, the septic system of the house is actually considered failed by the Board of Health because the top of the system is not 1 foot above the floodplain. So the sole purpose of the retaining wall is for a septic system. Do you have the site plan, Christina? Can you show that? Sole purpose of the retaining wall is for the septic system, and I don't think Dave Clark's here because he's on his way back from Maine, but I've discussed it with him several times, and he pointed out that he was asked, well, can't you bring the retaining wall in closer to the house? And he said that he didn't think he could, although during the actual installation of the septic system, they may be able to determine it can come in a couple of feet. The reason for that, he explained to me, is that because of the forces involved pushing against the retaining wall, there has to be a big footprint inside the retaining wall, so the material inside the retaining wall has bearing to hold the wall from tipping out. And under the regulations for the Board of Health and actually Mass Board of Health requirements, you can't have anything underneath, no solid surface beneath the leach area of a septic system. So that's why he drew it this way. He said it is possible that once the septic system is fully designed, that it may not, because they have to maintain a distance from the house as well. But once it's fully designed, it may be able to be a little bit narrower. And so in that instance, the retaining wall will come in concomitant with the amount of space that becomes available.
Well, I did assume that the owners weren't happy about a 10-foot wall in the back there.
Well, the other thing too is that regardless of this project, they've been holding off on what they were going to do with the septic system until they could figure out what they were doing with the project. The septic system has to go in, and unfortunately, the retaining wall has to go in with it because of the flood regulations. The other thing is that the entire area that says buildable upland on this plan will be filled with mitigation planting. So one of the things at Zoning Board of Appeals, when the wall was approved, was that half of the height of the wall is basically going to disappear, okay, because there's going to be all kinds of plantings. So a tremendous amount of this backyard area is going to be full of mitigation planting.
In fact, we don't have the mitigation plan available right now, but you can see the line of the driveway where it says Stone Drive to remain.
Right.
And you can see the line, this line is the edge. So the mitigation planting is going to follow a line just like this. In this entire area is going to be all mitigation plantings. They will grow up to a height of 6 or 8 feet.
Okay?
Yep.
All right,
No more playing ball in the backyard.
my comment basically is the streetscape, as I said earlier, and I'm a little concerned about, Rick, and I've mentioned it to you, what's happening on the side of the building, the left side, where we look at what the building, this is a contributing structure to the National Register District, there's no question about it. But, you know, and yes, you've done a good job in maintaining the front of the house and that, but the side of the house, which is seen from Main Street as you drive by and also down the way, you know, you really can't discern the original house from the addition. And maybe that's not too bad, in my view. But I asked
Well, I think-
Korjeff to give me some comments on that.
Let me see what they say.
Sorry?
Oh, go ahead.
And I know I'd spoken to you briefly about it, you know, about if we could change the configuration of the windows so it's more in keeping of what's there now, you know. What you have now if for, a relatively simple side view, and now it gets kind of complex with the juxtaposition of the windows. I know it's not easy, but maybe I'm being too picky on it. I don't know how the other members of the commission feel. Don? You have a what?
I have a problem with the
Oh.
whole thing.
So you're not supportive?
No, I'm not supporting.
Bob?
Yeah, I have some concern that too, because as Don said, I go down there a lot and I'm down in that beach a lot. And I think what makes the left side more complicated than it is now is the addition of both the stairway up to the front, if you will, and that door, and then the stairway up to the deck. And I don't know if there's a way around that, but if those were, that's what's confusing the old view, if you will, I think.
Okay, I think if you have the site plan, perhaps the site plan would be helpful with regard to the way the building appears on the left side, because what the boards wanted to do was create this driveway so that when bringing in the groceries, they don't have to walk up all these stairs. And so this driveway is level with the first floor. At least that's my understanding.
Does that mean it's on an incline?
No, it's level.
Well, I don't understand what your point is. What are you saying? That's
I
why
was
you
trying
have
to
to stay
say-
away there?
Well, I don't think the plans that that the proposed plans that show that those stairs those stairs up to the left side are going to be there.
You're saying the drawing is incorrect?
Well,
Well, let's get clarity. In other words, you're talking about the left elevation, which is the one that's on the Andrew Harding side of the house?
yeah,
Okay. So in the design, okay, based upon the fact that we had to go to conservation, put in the retaining wall and so on and so forth, okay, right now, it's all grass out there, and even though there's a banking, you certainly can get closer proximity to the house from the backyard. So when we went to Conservation and Zoning Board of Appeals, the plan was made so that you could gain access off of Andrew Harding Lane without having to drive all the way around to the far corner of the lot, which is where the garage is, in order to be able to. Okay. So I'm not sure what. So basically, when you put a driveway there that's more at the level of the first floor, then there's a set of stairs that has to be able to go from there down to the area on the third level, which is the basement level. So it's just a matter of, all this stuff is just a matter to be able to negotiate the property. The property is a fairly steep banking from the street level down to the hole that's in the backyard that we're mitigating. Because it's been leveled out a little bit because of the installation of the septic system, but it's still a 3-story house now, and before any work is even done to it. So you have these landscape features that are going in just to make it so that you can move around the property.
You know, notwithstanding the landscape features, and I understand, I totally understand. Sorry.
I gotta give you a buzzer like Normie and cheers.
What was that?
They should give you a buzzer like Normie that keeps zapping you every time you forget to turn your mic on.
That's what I said. I reminded the chair buzzer. Yeah. Well, you know, the problem is you move your papers around, and when you got the mic on, if you're listening on television, forget it, you can't hear anything. All right, having said that, I understand the complications, and obviously you guys been to conservation and zoning?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that's nice. Well, you know, it's nice that we get the last call here. Prefer it the other way around, but that's your decision. One of these days
no, it
we're
was
gonna
not a
change that.
decision. There was, we did a filing that was timely, but
Yeah.
it was determined to be inadequate, so we filed, we weren't given the opportunity to revise the filing until after the date for advertising had come through, so.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult, because they asked me for comments, says, I got no comments, we haven't heard it yet. But
No,
let me just.
And we told them that we hadn't been.
I understand, Bill. But let me just make a comment. There is some concern here, okay? And a little bit of lack of clarity if I'm reading the tea leaves here with people. So what I'd like to suggest to provide some clarity, okay? And the clarity would be, let Sarah take a look at it, okay? And I did ask her, but let's wait till we get her comments, because if she has less of a concern at some of the things that we did, then we're probably okay. You know, we understand in my opinion, I understand the complications of the site, what you're trying to accomplish, how you're trying to accomplish. And maybe Sarah can give us some guidance as we try to step across the water, you know, where the rocks are.
Sure.
All right?
I understand.
So I'm going to suggest with this one, we do the same thing and continue it to the next meeting. Yes?
Can I just ask Bill a question and try and clarify? Maybe it's semantic, but you say that the driveway is supposed to be level to the first floor or the ground floor?
It does look like the ground floor, and I just remember Dave Clark saying this so she could carry the groceries in the house without going upstairs, so I could be inaccurate in that statement.
Okay, because the way, you're right, it's drawn such that it's going to the
Yeah,
basement
so
level.
one advantage of continuing is that Dave Clark will be present for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. What I'd like to do at this particular point is ask for a motion to continue this, awaiting Sarah Corjo's comments, and give us another chance to digest this. Okay? Motion, please?
To September 20th?
September 20th.
All right, I move that we continue this matter to September 20th for some clarifications on the drawings and Ms. Korjeff's observations.
Second.
Second by Janet. Thank you very much. We're going to do a roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Steve? Steve's out there somewhere. Stephanie?
He's
Yes.
muted.
Don?
Yes,
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
And Chair votes yes. All right, we'll go September 20th. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your patience, Bill. All right, guys. I have a couple of just quick comments. We have no other new business. The archaeological surveys, Steve, I had a meeting with Katie, Donovan, and Michelle, and Christina, and Jeff, and Katie would like us to take a step back on the Form Es and the Form Ds, and also on the Form Bs, which in some cases, years ago, when my predecessor here, Mr. Aikman, was chairman, the Historical Commission did something which was really worthwhile. They did a complete survey of the town of all the buildings, I guess, more than 50 years old, and we checked them all. Well, guess what? It's been a little bit of time since then, and we found some holes in some of the Form Bs, and now we want to proceed with the Form Es for the cemeteries, upgrade them. We also want to do the Form Ds, which have never been done, for the archaeological digs which are completed in the town, specifically the Nickerson family dig and the Atwood dig, which also will allow us to have further documentation of the historical assets in the town. So Katie is going to take a quick look at that, and then we're going to proceed probably in a slightly different way. Did you get that, Steve? Thank you. Okay, so that's where we are on those two things. I still would like to, in the future, just as we finally got South Chatham, National Register District, I think what I've been told by the archaeologists is that the Nickerson dig could be eligible as a National Register site, and I'd like to do that. But you need the Form Ds before you could proceed. So it's chicken and the egg. All right. No other comments? Monomoy Theater, I guess they're in the final design, and hopefully that's going to happen in another year or so.
Design that was too.
Yeah, but they did make some changes to it.
Oh, did they?
I'll see if I can get a copy and send it out. And last but not least, the boathouse, they're still working on the implementation of the former Coast Guard boathouse as the Upweller. Haven't heard anything. We have no correspondence other than that correspondence to the applications, Michelle, which we'll read next time.
Correct.
Okay. We do have no changes in the demolition delays. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, I just had a question about, I'm still concerned about the Riverview areas, because their 50 years are coming up very soon. River Bay, I mean. And I haven't seen anything on our,
Yeah, that's on our agenda. I have it on issues on hold.
okay.
Remember, we put it on hold because of COVID, and now, because Ally was over her head, and now we have Jeff, who's going to soon be over his head. And, so we have a lot of things that we need to prioritize. We can't do everything, okay? But you're right. To the public's information, the current Chapter 158 has a 75-year threshold, and I don't know when River Bay was built, but River Bay is going to be 75 years pretty soon. And we have to consider what the implications of such a large number of homes coming under the Chapter 158. So we need to talk about it. Okay. The one administrative thing we have to take care of, we have an administrative review application, 64 Silverleaf Avenue. Myself, Don, and Bob have looked at it. The applicant made numerous changes based upon our comments, and I believe the current situation is that she will replace the side door with a like side
Yes.
door.
She's having a custom door made, and it will be exactly the same.
Okay? So we'd like the commission to what's the word? Confirm our decision.
Ratify.
Ratify. Thank you.
I move that the commission ratify the three-member group that looked at Silverleaf Avenue and the replacement of the side door, because it will be replacing like for like.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, second, Steve. Very good, Steve. Hey, got it. Okay. Roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Don?
yes.
Sandy,
Yes?
and Janet, and the chair
Yes.
votes yes. Okay, we have one more motion. Who wants to make it?
I do.
We need a motion to adjourn? Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay,
I move we adjourn.
all right, I'm tin ear, okay.
Second.
I'll second, yeah.
Second from Steph. All right, thank you very much. No further comment. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Don?
Yes?
Sandy?
Yes?
Janet?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, guys. It's a tough one today. I think we're off. We'll see everybody.